Hey guys, it's Feline. So today I wanted to share how I'm gonna be repotting some of my aloes and also how I potted my hawthornia, which is this plant right here. So I'm not an expert at this. I just know what's been working for me, and then I know a little bit about the plant. So, and I just wanted to share with you guys. So a little bit about this plant. So I actually repotted it about a year ago, and again, this was a plant that I really neglected. Didn't take care of it, didn't water it. It was in like a lot of sun, and basically the tips were basically turning brown. So that's usually a sign of them needing more water. But so I repotted in this little cute little strawberry pot that I found at Daiso. And especially with any type of plants, you want to have a drainage hole. So this one does have it, and all of these have drainage holes. I have seen other decorative style for succulents, and you just put like charcoal on the bottom, and it's basically like a glass with no hole. Those I really don't believe your plant will thrive in those, just because especially succulents, hawthornias, aloes, they're desert plants. They like to stay dry. So yeah, I don't know. I can't say with experience if if they're really good for them, but from what I know, I never like those. Like, they'll thrive for a little bit, but most likely they're just gonna die off or at least get really sick. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So yeah, first things first, you want to make sure you have a nice container that has a drainage hole. And you probably see this, oops, that white film on the bottom of my hole. I just put a coffee filter. I haven't done it here, but I just put a coffee filter that I ripped up on the bottom, just because these are going to be indoors, so it really helps keep the soil from falling out when I'm potting them, and kind of keeps it clean for a bit. And these will just dissolve slowly, and then your soil won't be as loose because they'll be tying up by the time they dissolve. But anyways, so today I will be repotting my aloe. I don't know what type these are. I had them for a very long time, and as you can tell, they look very dried out, very lethargic. Yeah, like I said, I haven't been really taking care of them. So I want to repot them and then take them inside, just so they could be in a bright window and not in full sun, just so they can recover a little bit. But yeah, these guys, they were actually attached, and there was 4 of them. So I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I wanted to plant them separately. Where is it? There it is. So these 2 I just cut right now. So it's from right here. So after I cut them, I actually will let them dry out for at least a day, because you never want to plot or, hey boss, what? This is not food. So I don't know if you guys know, this is my dog. His name is Boss. He's an American Akita. Boss. 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 You want to say hi? Hey. Okay, back to the plant. So yeah, if you do fresh cuttings, you always want to, either with succulents, any of the desert plants, or the succulent category, you basically want to let the ends dry out, because you don't want to cut it and it's like a fresh wound and you plant them, because that's when they can get diseases and basically rot. So these guys, I'm just gonna let them dry out for at least a day or 2, just so these the wounds right here will callus over, and then I'll go ahead and repot them. Boss, you're getting your nose dirty, full of spider webs. Gross. But yeah, these 4, they were together. So I cut these 3 off. Oops. I cut these 3 off a while ago, and then today I decided to split these 2. But these 2 are pretty calloused up, so I'm going to go ahead and pot these. So I'm just going to set my camera up, and then, we'll just go and get potting. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I'm going to pot this little frog container that I got from Daiso. And just excuse me, because I am in my pajamas and it is Hello Kitty. But hey, I'm home, I get to wear whatever I want. So first things first, like I said, there's always this drainage hole in every one of my pot. You want to make sure you get a coffee filter, and then you just want to cover that hole. There you go. And then you go ahead and add your soil. So the soil you want to use whenever you're planting any type of succulents or any desert plant, you always want to make sure you get something that's specially for them, because they like I said, they don't like to have a lot of water being stored in the soil, because they need to dry out, or else their roots are gonna rot. So the soil that I'm using is I got from Home Depot. It's the palm and cactus mix. And then this is actually quite old. Like I said, I've been neglecting my garden for a while, so but it's just basically has a lot of bark, and the old ones I used it has a little bit of perlite. See, perlite is, I don't know exactly what they are, but then they're these white things, and they're kind of like styrofoam, but they're not. They just feel like it because they can crumble like it. See? So these aerate your soil and help with drainage. So these are always good. If you don't want to buy that, if you have regular soil like a lot already, you can just go ahead and go out and buy these by themselves and mix it into your soil. And you could also add a little bit of sand too. Just basically the more drainage, the better. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. So when I'm also planting my succulents or aloe, I do like to use this fertilizer that I got also like maybe 2 years ago. There you can find this at Home Depot. I got it at I think it was a swap meet, and it was from like a seller. So what I like to do is when I first mix in the soil, I like to sprinkle a little bit, mix it into the soil, just so they can at least get some nutrients throughout. Okay, and then you just keep adding soil till you get to the very top. So I'm pressing down the soil a little bit just because it's gonna go down anyways once you water it, and I don't like it when my soil is pretty up here, but after you water it goes all the way down here. I don't like that space. I want my plant to be at the very top. So I will press down a little bit, but not too hard, because you don't want to make it like super airtight or anything, but just enough. I think that should be good. So I just basically have it about that rim, and then now I'm gonna use a little stick, and I'm gonna dig a hole so where I could put my succulent in. So very carefully I try to maneuver. Okay, so that's a dead root, so that's okay. But yeah, I just carefully try to push the roots down, but I think a lot of the roots down there is actually dead already, so it doesn't matter. They're very sturdy and hardy, so they'll grow new roots. So yeah, I try to get it to the level that I want, probably like around right there. Then you go ahead and put the soil back in. I'm gonna try to center it. Here's the face. No. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more soil because I want it to be a little bit higher. But yeah, ladies, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. If you don't like it, wear a glove, but I like to get my hands dirty. Alright, so I think that should be good enough for now. I'm gonna go ahead and put some water, or I'm gonna water it down to see what the soil level is gonna be at, and to see if I'm gonna need any more. So I guess I'll take you guys with me. Okay, this is gonna be really hard to do with one hand. Oops. I know with this pot, I'm probably gonna have to tilt the pot after I water it because there is a bowl and I can't take it off. But like I said, you know, you don't want any sitting water. So I just try and do that. But yeah, I think the soil level looks pretty good. So now I'm actually gonna put some rocks on the top just for decoration purposes, and also kind of keeps everything looking pretty clean. I have this pan here with a bunch of little white rocks that I got from the dollar store, and I had to rinse them out just because when they're fresh out of the bag, they're pretty ashy. So I don't want that to go into my soil where, I don't know, maybe it's good for them, who knows, but I have seen other colors, so I don't know if they're dyeing the rocks. So I just don't want that to get into the plant. So I just, I rinse off, a little bit, and then now I'm just gonna, bless you, boss. And now I'm just gonna put it on top. Hey, boss, what are you doing? Come here. What are you doing? Don't knock the camera. Boss. Boss, come here. Okay, sorry if my light's changing. He's in front of me and it's blocking the sun. Yes, boss, can I help you? So yeah, basically I'm just, neatly try to put in these little rocks. It's actually very kind of hard, but just do it a little at a time and just fill it up. And I just try to fill it up to the rim and cover all the dirt. So it actually makes it look a lot better. Now I'm just gonna clean up any little rocks that has fell under here. Probably need like a thinner toothpick to get these. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So this guy is actually going to be in my bathroom window just because that bathroom gets the most indirect sunlight. Like I said, I feel like the Hawthornias, the aloes, like they can be in full sun, but you just have to make sure you water them thoroughly so they don't dry out. I live in California, and it's basically June, so it's gonna start to get really hot. When it gets hot, the sun is just burning. So like I said, I had a lot of my other succulents, they're desert plants, but they're getting burned. So I actually have this net to cut some sunlight out. I think this is, yeah, I got it at Daiso, but it works really well. A lot of my succulents are doing really well after I put that guy up. Alright, so I'm pretty much done. This is basically the outcome, and I really like it. Like I said, this is going to be a present for my boyfriend's grandma since she likes frogs. So hopefully, this little aloe does really well and grow a little bit more by the time I have to give it to her. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take this guy inside, and he's gonna have to live indoors for a little while until I feel like the plant is strong enough to basically be outside. Okay, so I forgot to let you guys know about one more thing, is how often you want to water these guys. Usually the rule of thumb is either once or twice a month, or when your soil is dry. So if you are not going to have top gravel, you can basically stick your finger inside about maybe like 1 inch deep and try to feel for it. If it feels damp, don't water it, but if it feels dry, then that's when you can water it. But if you have pots like this where you have a decorative gravel on top where you can't see the soil, when in doubt, it's better to basically underwater them than to overwater them, just because they can drown very easily. But if they're underwater, they can still survive but not really thrive. And your plant will tell you what it needs. If it's nice and healthy, the leaves should be nice and full, pretty much like my Hawthornia here. But when they are starting to get very thirsty, they basically will kind of concave in like this guy right here. So this guy hasn't been watered in a while. And also another sign is if the tips of their leaves are drying out, it means that it needs more watering, it needs more frequent watering. But for me, I think I usually water them maybe twice or 3 times a month. So maybe, yeah, about like 3 times a month. Just because in California we are very dry here, and then we barely get any rain. So that's what I've been doing with my succulents that's indoors. But the outdoor succulents, they get a lot more watering just because just how dry we are. But yeah, I just thought I'd add that in there, and my battery's dying. So yeah, bye.